Hey, 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 everybody. Welcome back to another episode of CHAS and Friends. I was just talking with Nikil here. He's episode number 35. So, welcome. Hope you all are doing well. And I am very excited to have my good friend Nikil Koparkar here. And he is a booktuber at Shelf Esteem, but he is also a music composer for fantasy adaptations and horror adaptations and things like that. So both of his channels are in the description below. But I'm going to let Nikhil kind of introduce himself and tell you guys a little bit about him, and then we're just going to do our normal thing, chat about what we want to chat about.
Totally. Hey everyone, thanks so much, Chaz, for having me on, man. I mean, I was telling you right before we started is like I've been on BookTube for a little less than a year now, and you and Cliff from Cliff's Dark Gems are a few people who like reached out to me and made me feel so welcome in the community. And I also feel like it's interesting seeing it from the other side of the camera, and so to speak, in the sense of I followed BookTube for years. I'm also, like Chad said, a composer for film and television and video games. So recently I worked on Wheel of Time Season 2 and 3 and His Dark Materials Season 3. And I also worked with our BookTube's own Philip Chase on Theme for his book series, the Edan Trilogy, which, sidebar, if you haven't checked out, you have to check out because it's amazing. And yeah, and so, like, I'd been on for just a few weeks when you, Chaz, and Cliff had welcomed me with open arms and made me feel very welcome in the community. And it made the community aspect of what BookTube is even more important, even more poignant, and also, it became more apparent. Um, Trying to create content and seeing the community from that vantage point. So it's been a wonderful ride so far, and yeah, it's great to be here, Chaz, man, because I love your Chaz and Friends episodes, and I've watched them eagerly, and I'm just so honored to be on one of these with you.
Yay! I'm so glad to have you too. This has been something I've wanted to do for a while. I've been wanting to get you on, and yeah, but BookTube is a really special community. I feel like smaller niches within YouTube definitely lend more to a community aspect, and and BookTube is definitely one of those. So
Absolutely. And to that point, it's so interesting to see how much BookTube has grown over the last few years. Like I remember when I don't know when you first discovered it, Chaz, but I know for me, I think I found it in 2019 because I was looking
mhm.
for that was right around the time I was pitching for the Wheel of Time show. And
Okay,
um, I was reading all the books and studying the maps, and I figured, hey, I should look up Wheel of Time videos just to get more context. Then I found Daniel Green's channel and I found Mike's book reviews because he was doing his channel at the
yeah,
time. There were a few big ones, a couple smaller ones, and that was it. Like it has exploded over the last few years, which is great to see.
yeah.
Yeah. When did you first discover books?
I first discovered BookTube in 2017, I believe.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I first ran across it there, and of course, like you mentioned, Daniel Green. I came across Mike's book reviews later, like after I'd started my own channel.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely Daniel Green, Murphy Napier, Elliot Brooks. Those were the three that I watched regularly, and then I started my channel in 2019. So
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
fantastic.
So
Yeah. So
so
you've seen a huge cross section of changes through BookTube, I'm sure.
oh yeah, it's exploded since then. It
Yeah.
really has.
Mm.
So yeah, it's really taken a huge leap forward, and I think that's awesome. I think BookTube provides a really necessary service to the reader community,
Mm.
and it provides a good service to the creators as well, because we get to talk about our favorite books
Yeah.
and have that outlet that we might not get in our in real life. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I mean
yeah.
this is real life technically, but it's real virtual life, and
The nexus of where real life and a virtual life collide.
I like that. The nexus, yes, indeed. Yeah. Yeah, so that's good. I wanted to touch base real quick. You mentioned the Adan theme,
Yeah.
and I thought it was just absolutely amazing. You
Uh-huh.
you really brought out the nuances of the uh of the story itself, but also specifically the song of uh, and I can't remember what he calls it now.
Origin of Dragons.
The song of the origin of dragons. Yes, thank you. Yeah, you really brought that to life for me because I loved that in the book. I,
Oh,
yeah, I loved that the priests chanted this song of origin and stuff like that, and I felt like you just brought it to life beautifully. So
oh, thank you.
yeah, and it's a great piece of music, and it works well with the trilogy, which is an absolute banger of a trilogy.
Totally.
And now he's got another book coming out in June, so I'm super excited for that.
Oh, me too. Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, that whole experience was just wonderful because Philip really gave me free reign. He gave me a couple of references, but he was like, "Do what you do." Um,
Yeah,
and I had this thought. I was like, because I wanted something to feel memorable, and hopefully, like kind of hummable was the idea. Because all fantasy films and shows and things I grew up with, it's like they all had like hummable melodies. Like you think of, I mean, Lord of the Rings is the perfect example of like it has like 10,
yeah, right.
that instantly what movie it is, what score it is, and everything. And so I grew up with that, and I love melodies you can hum. So I
Yeah,
always try to put them in scores as much as possible, and like doing a theme is the perfect way to represent that. So once the melody was kind of set, then I was like, oh, I feel like the middle needs something. Let's take something directly from the books because the one thing I feel with fantasy music, I guess you could say, or music written for fantasy uh, film, TV, whatever it is, and in this case, books, you want it to feel like it belongs in the world. You want it to be memorable, sure. That's what we all strive for as composers, but you also want it to feel like it belongs in the world. And
hmm
it's not just like a, oh, that fantasy music could have been on any fantasy playlist for anything. Like we don't want that. So that was one of the ideas, and Philip kindly provided me all the pronunciations. He like sent me a voice note with all the pronunciations because otherwise I would have been so lost.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
And so I was like going line by line and recording them over and over again. So there's like I think 7 of my voice in there chanting this thing. And it
yeah,
was one was, more gruff, one was more like wispy, and I just tried to do it from different mic positions so it would feel like, an actual chant rather than like if it was just me doing it over and over again in the same voice and in the same way, then it wouldn't quite deliver that effect, if that makes sense. So a lot of little technical trickeries to try to make it happen, but it was fun.
well, that's amazing. It sounds like a lot of fun and a lot of work,
Yeah.
but the beauty is you love what you do, and that makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I mean, I think of this quote, and I don't even remember where I heard it now, but I think of this quote that I always come back to whenever I feel like, oh man, this is overwhelming or this is hard, is like choose your hard, and it's just 3 words, and it makes sense. Like if you think
yeah,
so many things that we choose to do in life is hard. Anything worth doing oftentimes is difficult. Even the books we read, like some of the most amazing books we've read, they take some effort and engagement to get through.
they
The
do.
tortoise and spades. And so
Mhm.
I like that idea that you get to choose your hard. That gives it purpose. So
Yeah, it really does.
yeah,
And
it's
and so and you recently wrote and released the theme song or not the theme song, but one theme from the Wheel of Time season 3
Yeah, definitely.
and Chaco.
Yeah.
And so I just watched episode 5 last night.
Oh,
Uh,
great.
and we haven't heard it yet, but I have a feeling that maybe in episodes, you don't have to say, you probably can't say, but I have a
Sure,
feeling that episode 6 we might hear your music, maybe.
possible. I can neither confirm.
Right. I know you can't, but yeah, that's really exciting though. I'm very excited.
Oh, thanks so much, man. Yeah, that whole experience was a dream come true. And
Yeah.
just for extra context, in case anyone wants to know, so basically, like how that all came about was, as I mentioned earlier, 2019. I was reading these books. I read all 15 books. I read New Spring, everything, and I was just enraptured by the Wheel of Time series. And I decided, I don't have the credits to actually land a show like this, so I'm going to pretend I do because you know, who knows, right? Like, might as well try at least to pretend, because if you pretend that you do, then you eliminate the factor that you're talking yourself out of it, right? And then you actually think about it as a thing to be solved. Like, what would I do in this case if I had the credits? Just as a
Right.
thought experiment. And so then I thought, oh, probably make a theme for it. Oh, okay, maybe record it with live orchestra.
Yeah.
And the Budapest Orchestra does 30-minute sessions. So I booked a 30-minute session with them. Still very costly, still like a chunk of my savings. But my dad actually convinced me to do it. I was like, is this crazy? He's like, the worst thing that happens is you become a better composer.
Yeah.
Good point. That's worth that's worth the money right there. And so the Wheel of Time fan community, especially Twitter of Time, were sharing it like crazy. And Tor.com Tor was the publisher of the books, and they did a whole article on it. And then Lauren Balfe saw it. He hired me onto his team. And it really was like a full circle moment, because when I was working on that show on season 2 is where it started. I would send him musical cues for approval, and I would say, hey, I incorporated this Rand theme here because in season 4, presumably, they're probably going to explore this story arc, and it might be a good idea to foreshadow that here, stuff like that.
Right.
And so he put me in charge of the season, like as a music team lead for season 2, which was insane. And so cut to season 3, and they needed an original song, and Lauren basically entrusted me to just take it on myself. And so I got to write this song that and I'll just I'm trying to think of what I can say and what I can't say, but I'll just leave it at, I got a chance to write the song. It was awesome, and I got to work with some of the actors themselves because they sang on it. And
Yeah.
so that was a real trip, because I was phoning into Prague and speaking to the actors and like coaching them and recording them remotely, and like meeting with the executive producer, the director of the episode, the writer of the episode. So it was just
Oh.
so cool, like a
That,
culmination of that 2019 crazy experiment.
yeah, that's really exciting, man. Wow, what a journey you've had on that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let you know Dark Star here says hi. Good to see you. Glad you made it. um, that she reminded me of something else I want to bring up to you in a few minutes, but I wanted to mention that I really enjoyed the song Ten Chico, but I think I will probably enjoy it more once I see it in the show, because combined with the visuals, I think that's really going to drive it home.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm very excited to see that. And did so I know you said you got connected with them remotely in Prague. Did you actually get to go to Prague at all?
No, unfortunately, the timing for some of this stuff has been very tight, and so there just wouldn't have been time to do it. Like, I
Sure.
the song, they approved it, then a couple of little suggestions, fixed it really quickly. I wrote that song in like, I think, a few hours and recorded a demo with all my voice on it. and then I sent it to them. And actually, a lot of the instrumentation from that original demo recording ended up making it into the final mix. But so then they approved it, and they wanted to record the actors like 2 days from then, because they were like in Prague at the time. So um, they were fast tracking it essentially. So
Mhm.
I got a chance to record them remotely at like 5 a.m. LA time,
Yeah.
or 4 a.m. or something. But it was great. A lot of coffee.
Wow. Well, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Um, Dark Star jogged my memory because I've been watching some of her videos unboxing um, some Broken Binding editions
Oh,
of the Rook and Rose trilogy. Have you heard about that series?
I haven't. No. Who's that one?
Uh, it's by M.A. Carrick. The first book is The Mask of Mirrors. You may have seen it.
Okay. Oh,
Um,
yes, yes. I know the cover. I've seen the cover.
mhm. It's a fantastic series. It really is. Uh, One of my favorites that I've read in the last couple of years.
Oh,
And I was thinking as we were talking about scores and different things like that.
yeah.
I would love to see. I mean, no pressure, of course, just a suggestion. I would love to see what kind of musical inspirations you get if you were to read a series like that.
Oh, cool.
uh, and it's definitely got some strong vibes of vigilantes, and I got Phantom of the Opera vibes from it as well. Although more vigilante than Phantom, but still some solid Phantom vibes there. And it's kind of set in kind of a Victorian or Regency era type of setting, and it's just fantastic.
Wow, that's amazing. I'll have to check this out. Uh, uh,
Yeah.
I'll write down the name maybe after this or something, so I don't forget.
Okay.
Yeah, because you know that's always the thing with us, right? We're always trying to put more books onto our seemingly impossible TBRs, and that's
Yeah.
the joy of it all.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. And yeah, that series is very underrated.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah.
I'm really
Um,
looking forward to investigating more underrated fantasy series too, because I loved the Edan trilogy. I really
yeah.
enjoyed Times of Rooker Flynn, and books like that. It's like, oh, that would have totally flown under my radar. you know
Yeah.
Not reading The Bound and the Broken, which is, it's self-published. It's definitely not under the radar.
Right. Yeah.
And in even Sun Eaters, like when I was reading it, it was under the radar, but now it's definitely not under the radar.
Yeah.
Great, which is
Yeah,
fun.
definitely. And I feel like even though both of them are no longer under the radar, I still feel like Philip's books are underrated,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
or maybe I should say underread,
Yeah, yeah.
because I feel like if more people read them, they would not be underrated because you know, they would be well loved and enjoyed by more people. But
I,
so
I
probably I would say underread.
I completely agree. I mean, like, I was so blown back by the first book, Way of Edan, because it's like when you and this is my personal thing that I've been learning, is that it's like, I think self-published books have also evolved in terms of what goes into them, in terms of the marketing of them, in terms of everything from the cover art, on down, right? And
Yeah.
so now I think the perception of self-published books has changed. But like 5 years ago, maybe when I first started my booktube journey of like diving into all the videos and stuff, self-pub was like not as much to the forefront as it is now. And I hope
Right.
the tide will change. And I know for me, my perception has changed over the last couple of years entirely on self-pub. And I am excited to, it's like a whole new world to dive into. It's like, wow, what else did I, you know, gloss over that could be amazing reads.
Yeah. Exactly. I agree. So there's a lot of great self-published stuff out there.
Yeah.
One set of books, they're all standalones. He currently just writes standalones, but I
Mhm.
know you like horror.
Yeah.
Um, And these books are so good. He had initially reached out to me uh, to get a review copy to see
Oh,
if I was interested in getting a review copy.
yeah, yeah.
And I loved it so much that I've continued working with him on every book he's released.
Oh,
And
wow.
that his name is Chad Nicholas,
Okay.
and his most recent book is called The Animal,
The animals. Okay.
and, and it's a slasher.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Um, and the thing, I mean, he puts so much high quality work into his books,
Yeah.
like even the design. So you've got the cover there, and then you've got the inverse on the naked hardback.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and so this is his best book yet. It's
Wow. Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. And I was never much, I'm just kind of getting into horror
Yeah.
as a reader and stuff, and even as a movie watcher, but I highly recommend these books.
I can
Um,
check it out. That's awesome.
and he does that art design, or it's not him, it's Miblart is the creator that does his covers,
I see. Yeah.
and he on every one of his books he's done that where it's got the inverse on the naked hardcover, and it's just wow, yeah. I own all of his books in hardcover because they're just that special to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally. I'll
yeah.
check it out too.
But they're all self-published. Yeah, he puts his money toward making a great product,
Yeah.
and writes a great story, and yeah,
That's amazing, man.
yeah.
I I I hate to do this, but I actually spilled a little bit of water right by my computer.
Sure.
Would you mind if I quickly wipe this up?
Oh, go for it. Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
absolutely.
It's like got dangerously close to my computer, and I'm like,
Oh,
I
I've done that.
care this.
I've
Just
done that.
give me 1 second. I'm sorry,
All
you
right.
all.
Sounds good. No worries. Okay, who knows the Jeopardy theme? Do 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 do. I'm teasing. No pressure, Nikil. Come back when you can. Anyway, how's everybody doing? I see we've got 3 people watching so far, and Dark Star's been here with us. So um, if you guys would if you're just tuning in, kindly check the description below because I do have a link to Nikil's music channel as well as his booktube channel and other places you can find him. So uh, he's an amazing guy. Check out his stuff. Just relaxing. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's afternoon where you're at. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. It's 9:30 in the morning here almost. But yeah, that's good. Uh, Anything special? Just doing some reading or movie watching or other things? Yeah, Saturdays are good for relaxing. I'm usually pretty busy on Saturdays. Um, I do my grocery shopping. I usually film a video and try to do some reading in the afternoon. So doesn't always work out, but sometimes. I'm gonna do here, I
Woo!
think.
All
Oh,
right.
oh,
Thank goodness. Sorry about that, you guys. I
oh
was
no,
that
no
water
worries.
so close to my computer, and it got like a little bit on my computer, but it was like right at the it was a close call. So I got.
Oh, yeah, that happened to me just a couple of weeks ago, actually.
Oh man. Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely get you there.
I really should not put water close by my computer, but it's so convenient, to have it on your desk while you're working or something. It's like, oh well.
Right?
Yeah.
Crisis averted.
Yeah, man. Like,
Yeah, so true. Yeah,
yeah.
that happened to me a few weeks ago, and I was just like, oh no. But
Yeah.
it ended up being fine. My computer still worked.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and I do have to be really careful because my work computer is over here,
Yeah.
and then my computer for everything else is right here. So, if that water had gone much further, I would have been out of work and out of
Oh my.
so. But
And
yeah,
computers are so expensive too. It's absurd.
they
I know.
are.
Do you have a PC or Mac or?
Well, I'm on a PC right now. I do have a Mac, but it doesn't. Even though I upgraded a lot of the components in it, it's 11 years old, so I can't download the latest Mac OS.
Oh, got it. I see.
And so I don't use it for much except for writing and things like that. So
Sure. That makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, but
M1, no, M2 Ultra, the Studio, Mac Studio.
oh, nice.
It's been lovely. Yeah. It's
I
really good
bet so.
video editing and then of course for composing. But yeah, they're quite pricey, so keeping the water away at all costs.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, luckily my company provides the laptop for work, but
Yeah, yeah.
um, but I provided this one.
That's
I,
awesome.
I'm just working off one of those little mini. I forget what the brand is, but it's just a little mini PC box, but it's super powerful.
Oh, cool.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah. But
Nice.
yeah, man. So I'm curious to pick your brain about Malazan.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so as you and I have talked, I've had a very rocky journey with Malazan. I read Gardens of the Moon for the first time
Yeah.
back in, I think it was 2012 or 2013.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I liked it okay, but it didn't blow me away at the time. And then but after I got on BookTube, I was determined to restart. So I reread Gardens of the Moon and absolutely blew me away.
Yeah,
And then I had a horrible experience with Dead House Gates, with the exception of some characters.
yeah, yeah,
And I think part of that was the fact that it was such a jarring shift from all the characters that I had become invested in with Gardens of the Moon,
mhm.
and none of them, except for maybe Sorry,
Yeah,
she had a minor role in Dead House Gates, but
right.
other than her, everybody else was gone. I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, this it it wasn't. So I think that may have dimmed it a bit for me because I love Animander Rake. I love Whiskey Jack.
yeah.
I love General what's her name? Tattersail.
Yep.
Um, I absolutely love those characters. And there were some cool moments in Dead House Gates, like learning where some of the ascendant gods came from and
Yeah,
who they actually were. I'm like, oh, that's kind of juicy.
yeah.
But other than that, I was kind of disappointed,
Mm,
honestly.
mm.
And I came this close to DNFing it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was that hard, but I pushed through and I finished it. I don't think I would read it again. And
Mhm.
then I got halfway through Memories of Ice, and I was enjoying it because I'm back with my same characters again, right?
Yeah,
But I think I was just so burned out by reading Malazan at that point
yeah.
that I had to put it down, and I haven't gone back to it yet. I
Mm-hmm.
will. In fact, there was a humble bundle deal for all the Malazan books and some of the Carcanis books.
That too. Yeah,
Yeah, so I did get it because I'm like, hey, it's only $25. It's for a good cause. Even if I don't like the books, it's for a good cause.
yeah, yeah.
So I went ahead and got those. So I intend to try again, but coach me here, Nikil. Help me out.
I totally get the sentiment actually, because our journeys through Malazan were quite parallel in a lot of ways. I
Mhm.
started it in 2021 with Mike's book reviews, was doing a read along. So I was like, hey, I'll join up with that. And my wife, Linda, also wanted to join. So we both read the first book together. I really liked it. I was intrigued by it, but I also felt like kind of it was disjointed. I didn't understand like probably half of it at the time. And it's like when you read something, I don't know how you feel about this, Chaz, and I would love your perspective on it. But I know for me, through BookTube and kind of giving more intentionality to my reading. My reading actually comprehension has gotten better, even on more complex fantasy series and things like that. Like I'm reading Jenny Wirtz's Wars of Light and Shadow right now. The first book, the first book was amazing, but I also felt like it was hard to read at times because it was a different kind of writing style, and reading style as a result. And so it took some time to adjust to that. So similarly, Gardens of the Moon felt very like, whoa, I don't really know what to make of this. And then I read Dead House Gates, and I liked it, but I also missed the old characters, and the ending scene kind of made up for some of the plotting middle stuff. And then Memories of Ice, I quit about like maybe third of the way through or something. And then I was like, I think Malazan's not for me. Then cue this booktube channel. I'm like, I feel like I've read way more books since 2021. I feel ready to try again, and I don't want to try by myself. So did this whole read along on the channel, and seems like people were really excited to join. And of course, Malazan veterans, like they're also kind and like wanting to take the ride with you and provide context and stuff. So on my Discord, it was really cool. Like they'll be there to answer any questions and jump on things, and so that helped make the experience better. And I think like now that I know what to expect, going back to it made it so much better,
Yeah.
because Gardens of the Moon, I knew it was going to be a little disjointed. I knew it was the weakest entry. So I could just kind of sit back and not try to question what is going on and just kind of get into it a little bit more. And I actually felt more immersed. And the characters meant more to me the second time around.
Mhm.
Then with Dead House Gates, any plotting middle or anything, I already knew that I was not going to see the same characters again. So my
Mhm.
expectations were tempered in that respect. And then, the more I think about Malazan, I think about the way it's structured, and if there was like a visual representation, it's almost like, usually you're like in this cast of characters. They're your mainstays. I think of like the Expanse series, like a main cast of characters that go through and in this case it's more like, hey, this empire is so vast, hey, this history is so vast. If I try to tell you all of it, it would be a book or two of info dumping, which would be really boring. So
Mhm.
instead, I'm going to show you a little cross section here, then we're going to zoom out and we're going to go over here and look at what's going on over here. Now we're going to zoom out and look at like, what is the army doing itself. Now we're going to zoom into the one of the foot soldiers and just one of the generals, and like, oh, now we're going to look at one of the things that I found about Dead House Gates that was really cool was you had Coltane, who was like a general, and then you had Duiker, who's a historian, and you see them leading parallel paths through this kind of book, and they're seeing the same events but from different vantage points. So I think when you think about it that way, it becomes a little easier to digest.
Mhm.
That's something I wish I knew going into it the first time, though, because I think it would have
Mhm.
made the experience much better. But also, it's just such a different writing style that
Yes.
most people don't write that way, and also the world is so different that you can't really quite prepare for it. you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
I would
like,
agree with that.
so that's just my thought. But of course, I don't think it's for everyone, and I, but I also feel like I could have easily felt like it wasn't for me. And I'm really glad I revisited it, because this time, oh my god, Dead House Gates from the prologue just blew my hair back. Like I was so taken by it. And the first time I went through it, it kind of just was a book that I read. It didn't have that much consequence to me.
Yeah.
So much more um, this time around. So that's just food for thought.
Yeah, that's good to know. Now, have you restarted Memories of Ice yet?
No, I haven't. I'm actually waiting for April 1st. So a couple days from now, I'm going to start.
Okay, got it. Yeah,
But I'm
because I
excited.
was going to say, I mean, my April is unfortunately stacked,
Yeah.
but I mean, if circumstances were different, I would love to do a buddy read on it with you, and
Mm.
maybe that would keep my motivation. I mean, I could technically in April, but I don't want to overload myself because so far in April, I'm reading um, A Drop of Corruption. That's the sequel to Robert Jackson Bennett's Tainted Cup.
Ah, right. Oh, that's cool.
And I'll be reading Dragon Haven, which is the second Rainwild book
Oh,
by
nice.
Robin Hobb,
Yeah.
and I'll also be starting Sun Eater. So
Oh my God, I'm so excited for you.
I've got a stacked month, and I feel like if I tried to fit a Malazan book in there, I would just burn out
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
super hard. So
100%. That
yeah.
that that's, I was gonna say though, for this book, we're gonna probably take April and May to read it. So
Hmm.
we're gonna do a 2-month thing because it seems like a lot of people were falling behind even at Deadhouse Gate. So I adjusted the schedule.
Yeah.
So only two that we're gonna do back to back, I think, will probably be books 4 and 5. 1 month and 1 month.
Mm.
A little bit shorter.
Hmm. Okay.
And then all the other ones will be 2 months each. So just
Okay.
in case that, my whole goal is always to peer pressure you into joining our read-alongs.
Of course. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
no,
And I don't mind that.
yeah. But no, but it'll be really fun to discuss it with you if you have time. But of course, Sun Eater, it's like you just got to dive in. Oh man, I'm so excited.
Yeah. I'm very excited to get into Sun Eater. I've heard nothing but good things about it. I and who knows, if I get a chance, I might be able to jump into Malazan in May. So we'll see.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
yeah, Sun Eater I'm very excited about, even though so I know that his favorite author is Gene Wolfe,
Mm.
and I did not like Shadow and Claw at
Mm,
all. But I'm trying to not bring that into my experience with Sun Eater.
yeah.
I'm just trying to leave that outside of my feelings for Sun Eater, and just go into it expecting the best.
Yeah.
Uh, and I've heard so many good things. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. I will say, this is just my thought on it, but I have spoken to other people who have felt similarly that the first book was really good. I really enjoyed it. I will say that the second book is where it really takes off and becomes its own thing.
Okay.
And, and so I'll just leave that as a just something to think about. Um,
Okay.
but I feel like it's I don't know if you've read the Dark Tower series, right, Chess?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how the
One of my
first
favorites.
quite representative of where the story is going to go.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Um, it's kind of like that, but I think that the Empire of Silence is a far better first book and far more fully realized vision of a first book than I think the original printing of Gunslinger was. You know?
Yeah, that's great to hear, because uh I didn't hate The Gunslinger, but it's definitely my least favorite book
Yeah,
of the series.
yeah, yeah. Me too. Me too. Well, I know we're jumping topics here, but the
It's okay.
the, the Gunslinger, I'm on a reread right now, just taking my time with it, and I finished 6 books so far, and the Gunslinger ended up becoming such an endearing book to me. And I don't know if it's because I know where the story goes and stuff. So you see foreshadowing in that book, like unreal amounts that you would never have realized reading it the first time. So you're just like, what the heck are they talking about? But a lot of it is there's foreshadowing and things. And I did read a newer printing, so I think Stephen King did go and clean up some of the stuff in it.
Okay.
So I would suggest if you ever were compelled to do a Dark Tower reread, then try to find the newer edition, and try the newer edition of the Gunslinger might be helpful.
Yeah, I actually did read the one of the newer editions.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't read the original. I only started reading the series, I was fairly new to BookTube
Oh,
when
okay.
actually I had read the Gunslinger just a year prior to starting BookTube, so like 2018.
Oh, cool.
And so yeah, I read one of the newer editions, and I do think I will do a reread of at least that book, because after the ending of the Dark Tower,
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil anything, but I think it will make a reread of the Gunslinger more enjoyable because of things I know now coming from the end of the Dark Tower. And what's that?
Oh, I said 100%. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly how I felt.
Yeah, and I don't want to spoil anything because it involves a major spoiler to the end of the Dark Tower. So we won't. I don't want to go there
Yeah.
necessarily unless people don't mind. But
Right. Right. That's
but
one.
you know.
And that's one ending. I don't want. I would never want anyone to be ruined on that one because it's just.
Yeah.
I remember the feeling. I like. I didn't read anything for like 3 weeks after.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really good. And he kind of prepares you. He gives you two endings and then tells you, if you like this ending, just stop reading.
Yeah.
He said, if you like this, just stop here. But I
Yeah.
I wasn't satisfied. I had to know the actual ending.
Exactly, man.
But yeah, no, that was a really great experience.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I read it. There were so many great stories in there, and uh, there's a reason it's his magnum opus. You
Totally.
know.
The character work is just unbelievable in that book,
Mhm.
in that series. And I
Yeah.
feel like I don't know if I read it at a time where sometimes books come to you at a time when you're ready to receive them, or you're going through something in your life where it just parallels it, or something. And I feel
Yeah.
like Roland's quest for the Dark Tower, and it echoes a lot of like the artistic obsession as
Mhm.
well. And I'm sure Stephen King had his own quest. Like I feel like he wrote himself into Roland's character a lot, and stuff. And so it's just interesting. Like I could relate actually a lot to that singular focus of wanting to either achieve something, and like at what cost do you do that? And I don't know. It just changed my whole perspective on life. Actually, reading that series. Um, and I think I know this sounds crazy to say, but I think it made me a better person from reading that series.
Oh,
you know?
hey, I can totally see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because especially toward the end, it deals with so many different themes around character and grief and pain, even. And yeah, it's a very very deep series for sure.
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah, and I love the way that it connected with my favorite Stephen King book, Salem's Lot.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I love that. I was surprised at how deep that connection was. So I was glad I read Salem's Lot prior to finishing the series. So
Absolutely. Actually, I kind of wish I had. I did not read Salem's Lot before I got to that part. And that's one thing I would recommend to anyone who takes the Dark Tower journey is like if there's one book you should not skip over before the Dark Tower, it's Salem's Lot. Yeah.
absolutely, I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
every time I talk to people about the Dark Tower, I'm like, do not read book 5 before you read Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
wish I knew you back then.
Yeah, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned the Expanse series. How far along are you in the Expanse?
So I've only done 4 books actually. I had originally loved it so much that I wanted to just read one back to back until the
Mhm.
end last year, and I was kind of reading along with a friend of mine, and then his like work life got really busy and he was falling behind. I was like, oh, I'll continue, and then at that time I was starting the BookTube channel and then getting all these other great recommendations, of course, as one does,
Right.
and suddenly I was like, "Oh yeah, Expanse! I should get back on that." So I'm hoping to complete it this year, but
Cool.
I got 5 more books to go for sure. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm hoping to complete it this year too. I read book 6 last month.
Did you? Oh right.
Mhm.
So far, do you have a favorite of the 6?
Oh boy. Man, that's so hard to say.
Yeah,
I have favorite characters for sure, but it's hard to pick a favorite book because they're all so good, and
totally.
and it's really one long narrative, and so I don't know. Um, Cibola Byrne was a fantastic book.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. The most recent book was great too, though, Babylon's Ashes. So I feel like it's hard to pick a favorite, and it's interesting because I have not watched season 6 of the show yet,
Mm-hmm.
but I've seen the first 5 seasons, and after reading book 6, I can understand why the show ended at season 6 because
Interesting.
they did one season, they did one book per season, and it was brilliantly done. It's one of the best. Um, it's one of the closest adaptations I've seen
Wow.
to a show. Yeah, it's very very good. And but yeah, the ending of book 6 is a um I guess I would say that books 7 through 9 are a coda,
Mm.
or a continuation of sorts. So
Oh,
so you so you get kind of a semi-final ending at the end of book 6, and then from what I understand, there's like a 30-year time jump in the remaining
I
books.
didn't know that. Interesting.
So yeah, I mean, it doesn't change my how I'm going to approach it. I love the series.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to finishing it this year too. So
If our schedules align, I would love to, like, a no need to wait on your account, but if our schedules seem to align and I'm able to hustle and get those next 2 books in,
yeah.
I'll read the last 3 with you.
Oh yeah, that would be really cool. Yeah, so far I've been buddy reading them with Carl. You
Oh,
remember Carl from our yeah. So he and I have been buddy reading them together, and we still have yet to do a live stream to discuss it. But I think now that book 6 is done, I'm trying to get him on the horn to see if we can do a live stream to discuss the first major arc of the series.
oh, that's cool. Yeah.
And yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. I better
yeah,
hustle and finish those 2 so I can watch.
right, yeah. But I love the series, and I love the TV series as well. I thought they did a smashing job of of showing the story from the books.
That's great. Yeah. I've yet to watch the TV series. Actually, that's one my wife really wants me to watch. And I told her, I was like, I want to read the books first. So I guess when I get to book 6, so I guess this year I'll be starting my Expanse TV journey.
Yeah, definitely. And I've heard rumors that they may pick up and do 3 more seasons based on the other 3 books.
Oh, that's cool.
Because he recently signed another deal with Amazon to do their other series, The Mercy of Gods.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I
that's the new sci-fi series that they wrote together. So,
wonder if
um,
composer.
oh yeah, yeah, you can look it up in the trades and see what you find.
Exactly. I'll do my investigative work.
But yeah, it's a great series, and there's some great music to it and everything too. So yeah, it's very well done. But yeah, if you're able to catch up, I don't think that we will probably get to another Expanse book until at least May.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe not till June because I'm trying to squeeze in some new series that I've been wanting to start, like Sun Eater,
Oh, yeah.
like The Wars of Light and Shadow. I do plan to start that one this year.
Oh, great.
So yeah, um, and maybe work in some Elric as well. So
Nice. Have you read any of the Elric books yet?
I haven't. No, I the those 3 collections that they put out had
Yeah.
such beautiful covers that I bought them just for the covers
Oh, that is so
because
cool.
I knew I wanted to read them anyway.
Yeah.
And even if I don't like them, uh, it's no harm, no foul. I can always unhaul them or give them to somebody that might appreciate them more.
Yeah.
But I love the artwork on the covers so much, and it was uh, they hailed it as probably the best order to read the Elric stories in.
Oh, interesting.
And so I went ahead and grabbed them,
Oh,
and
that's
we'll
great.
see. We'll see what I think.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. I read the only
Yeah.
one so far, which is like the collection of short stories, and
Hmm.
I loved it. I read it in 2019, so it was kind of at the start of my uh, really full-on reading journey, yeah, as an adult. So, yeah, no, I love them. I love those stories, and I'm excited to pick up the next ones, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
That's cool. I even have a hardcover copy of the newest book, The Citadel of Forgotten Myths.
Oh,
That's
cool.
that new one that he released. I don't know when I'll get to it, but
Yeah, yeah.
eventually I will. So yeah.
How many books are there in that universe? Do you know?
Oh, it's hard to say, honestly,
Yeah,
because there's a bunch of short stories, and then there's some novellas, and then there's some full-length novels, and they're all included in the omnibuy. So
I see. I see.
I honestly don't know.
Yeah,
Are
yeah,
there
yeah.
any Elric scholars in the chat? Help us out here.
Help us find a way.
Yeah, but yeah, yeah, lots of great series out there, and never enough time, right, Nikil?
I know. It's just like I always feel like I try to find, and I would love to know how you do this, Chaz, because I feel like you read quite a bit as well, and I find it like trying to find the optimal time to read in the day, because sometimes after a full work day, I'm just exhausted, and
Hmm.
of dipping into Wars of Light and Shadow or something is very daunting at that point when you're so tired. And I try
Sure.
to read a few pages in the morning or something too, or in the afternoon when my work stuff starts flagging a little bit, then I'll kind of do that. But yeah, it's sometimes really difficult.
Yeah, I agree. I can definitely see that. I have a unique situation.
Yeah.
I'm an insurance agent,
Oh, okay. Cool.
and I work for a corporate insurance company, and I do chat support.
Oh,
So I'm
cool.
not customer facing, and so if we have downtime, we're allowed to do whatever we want. We can have YouTube on in the background. We
Oh,
can read books. Whatever. We can work on other stuff as long as we're not actively working on a chat with a customer. So
oh, that's great. That,
yeah, so that's the main reason I get as much done as I did. I think if I had a 9 to 5, and yours isn't necessarily 9 to 5, but it's definitely a public facing. You're constantly working with other people and stuff.
yeah, yeah,
If I had something where I had to go into the office, or where I was an active creator for my work,
yeah.
I think I might get less reading done.
Right, definitely. Yeah, it's hard when you're when you're when you're working on something that is kind of like your own business or whatever you want to call it. It 9 to 9 at 9 to 5 becomes 9 to 9 most days.
I'm
And then
sure.
even more difficult to find those pockets of time. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's the
Yeah.
ever struggle. Life just gets in the way of reading. Can't we all just live in hobbit houses and read all day?
I know. I would love that.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
love that. And I'm even short enough for it.
No, come on.
I don't have hairy feet though.
I love, I remember my favorite parts of watching Lord of the Rings when I first watched them was the Shire. That was like always like I would do so well here, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I would love living in the Shire, and it was kind of I laugh every time I read it or see it. I recently completed a reread of The Hobbit,
Oh, cool.
and I did it with the audiobook by Andy Serkis,
Oh yeah,
and
right.
it was fantastic. But the beginning of The Hobbit always has me laughing hysterically, because Bilbo's just alone in his house trying to relax, and he keeps getting knocks at the door with new visitors.
Yeah, yeah.
The dwarves just keep popping up, and finally, when he thinks he's seen the last visitor, one more pops up, and it's just absolutely hilarious. And I laugh because I would be frustrated too.
Oh, totally.
here I am trying to relax, and I'm getting all these visitors just randomly showing up at my door, and then come to find out the wizard is the one that's at fault for it, and now I'm angry at him. It's like,
right.
yeah, that was so great. I related to that so much, and even though the Hobbit movies had their flaws,
Yeah,
that particular part of the movie was just perfectly executed. And
totally.
we were laughing so hard in the theater when we went to see it. It was
Oh, yeah.
just, yeah,
Did you
yeah.
see all the theater?
What's that?
Did you see all three of them in the theater?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Saw all three in the theater, and it should have been two movies, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
But it was good. It didn't have the greatness that the original trilogy did, but it was still good.
Yeah.
Um, and
I
and I thought Benedict Cumberbatch as Smaug was just absolutely amazing.
right. Yeah.
I mean, that was just what they did with Smaug just blew me away. I thought it was perfect.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. That was fantastic. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, there's some very redeeming qualities about those movies. I think like you said, it's like if it was two movies, I think we would have been having a different conversation about it, years after the fact. But I
yeah.
remember first, I think I saw the first and second one in the theaters, and I
Okay.
time, and I
Hmm.
think it's no Lord of the Rings original trilogy, but few things can be right, and I
Yeah.
capturing lightning in a bottle like that would just be so difficult. I mean, they filmed those three back to back. It was at a particular time, it was like it was like 1999, 2000, it was like when they were filming, I think, right? And
Yeah.
so time to when the Hobbit ones were filmed as well. I also sidebar, I find it so hilarious that Peter Jackson was able to convince people to give him money to do the biggest fantasy trilogy of all time. Like
Right.
previous works, like I don't know if you've ever seen Meet the Feebles, which was basically like Muppets being bad or something. Like there's like a whole musical number on like sexual stuff, and like it's like just the
Oh,
most
wow.
like crude, crass, like kind of Muppet humor kind of thing. And then he did a horror movie called Dead Alive, which was like almost like a joke. Like there's a guy mowing down zombies with a lawnmower and stuff. It's just the most insane thing. And they're
Oh
all
man.
stuff. And then they go like, oh, I know who would be great fit for this, for Lord of the Rings. This guy. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would have liked to have been in the pitch meeting for that just to see what happened because yeah, I never seen any of his other stuff, but I had heard that it wasn't great.
Hmm.
And um when they got him to return for the Hobbit movies, I was very happy because even though I love Guillermo del Toro,
Yeah.
I really like him. I don't think I don't think he would have been good for The Hobbit.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
He just got such a strong horror bent, which he's magnificent at.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen Cabinet of Curiosities, but
No,
oh, it's an anthology series on Netflix
right.
that he created. And one of the stories in there that he does is Pickman's model from Edgar Allan Poe. Or wait,
Oh,
no, I'm sorry, Pickman's model from Lovecraft. And it's chilling. All of the stories in that anthology are chilling. But
yeah.
anyway, I digress. I don't think he would have been a good fit for The Hobbit, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
I agree. Actually, he has his own style, I feel
yeah,
like, and it's a style that feels very much unique to him. It's like you can tell when there's a Guillermo del Toro film or
yeah,
TV or something. Like it has a very specific aesthetic and mood to it.
it does. Yeah, absolutely. And I think I can probably guess why they initially looked at him for the Hobbit movies
Mm-hmm.
because he's done fantasy before with Pan's Labyrinth and everything, and
Yeah,
which
sure.
was a fantastic movie, by the way.
I love that. Yeah,
Mhm. But yeah, I just don't see him doing The Hobbit. So I'm glad they got Jackson to come back.
totally.
But like you said, capturing that lightning in a bottle the second time just it's hard to do.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
this day, The Lord of the Rings is the gold standard for adaptations, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I struggle to find a better one, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a better one? Does it exist? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one. I mean, The Expanse is an excellent adaptation,
Yeah.
but still not nearly as good as they did with Lord of the Rings. And even Lord of the Rings had flaws. There were things that they choices that they made uh, that pissed off fans and things like that. But overall, it was just magnificent.
Yeah.
I know famously Christopher Lee was really unhappy with uh, Peter Jackson for killing off Saruman. Oh,
Oh,
sorry, spoiler, but it's old enough now. I think we're okay with spoilers on that movie. But yeah, because have you read the Lord of the Rings books?
so I read The Fellowship of the Ring. I haven't read the other two, actually. I read The Hobbit growing up, and
Mhm.
that's one thing I really want to visit at some point now with more seasoned eyes, seasoned reading. Yeah.
Well, I won't say anything more about Saruman.
Oh,
We'll just
yeah.
yeah, I won't spoil that for you. So,
Sure, sure. Yeah.
but it's fantastic, and the casting was immaculate,
Mm-hmm.
and
You,
so yeah,
one thing also is I feel there's something special about stuff around that time as well. Like you think about Avatar: The Last Airbender, you think that kind of came out similar time, right? Within a
mhm,
couple
right,
Lord of the Rings movies, all that, and it's interesting because new properties and also adaptations of properties were, I think, done. The studios weren't as holding things close to their vest as they are now. Like you think about the golden age of TV, and it ushered in all these films and TV series and everything being made, right? And bigger actors going to TV, more money going towards TV. But I don't think the adaptations have gotten better. In fact, they've gotten worse a lot of times. And it's I have this kind of theory that like when everyone's trying to do something, oftentimes you're just going to see more of a mixed bag. When you have like one passionate team here, one passionate team there doing something, you end up really getting some of the best stuff. And then everyone tries to copy that success. It's like when Game of Thrones came out and everyone
mhm,
was, this is the next Game of Thrones. Even the Wheel of Time, the series was marketed as like, oh, is this going to be the next Game of Thrones?
right,
Not that at all. It's
yeah,
not core, its spirit. So I think
yeah,
these little passionate teams, rather than like this whole machine around something, usually ends up being the thing that brings it. And
right.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead. You're
Oh,
good.
I was just gonna say, I think if I remember correctly, the Lord of the Rings films were lower budget for large scale epics of that time, or even of now.
Mhm,
And so it doesn't show that way though, because they were very smart with using practical effects and CGI and stuff like that. It still holds up. And
mhm.
that's the case of not too many cooks in the kitchen, and not too much of the studio machinery around this thing. So
Yeah,
it's a huge difference. Yeah.
it does make a huge difference. Yeah, there was just something special in everything that went into the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Josh says there seems to be a serious lack of good fantasy films, though
Yeah.
my movie knowledge is very limited. Yeah, you're not wrong, Josh. I think there is a lack of good fantasy films and even TV.
Yeah.
Both films and TV seem to be lacking for good adaptation, good fantasy in general, and I think the focus is so strong on trying to make something uh, that somebody else has already made too. That
Yep.
I feel like Hollywood has lost its ability to create original stories, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And it's it's I think in jet I'm seeing this. I think indie films still, you start to see more unique stories, more unique perspectives. But even indie films, I do notice like it suffers from that a little bit, because everyone is doing things for the algorithm now. and everyone is trying to play the algorithm for clout. And so by doing that, you kind of end up making what everybody else is making by
Right.
default, right? Because you're trying to go what has worked in already, and let's try to emulate that. Um, and that is not the recipe for a good story, I think. So, and also, when you have dedicated teams that are working on it, let's say that they've read all the books, they're super fans, they really want to do justice to the story, then it might be a case of the studio goes, but what if we had these people fall in love, or like, they just kind of interject their own things. And of course, they're providing the vehicle for this to come out, so they have the final say. That's
Mhm.
one instance where that can be a problem. Then the other instance is, maybe the people who want to adapt it also want theirs to be the next whatever. Or there's writers who it's hard to sell a spec script these days, so
Mhm.
often what they'll do is they will get a hold of properties that exist and write their own stories into those things, because that's one way of getting it made.
Interesting.
And so when you see stories of things where it feels like, that didn't capture the spirit of the books, or that feels like it went off in its own way. And it's like, oftentimes that is another reason why that would be the case. So there's always these agendas and like political machinations in the background. It's like, it's tale as old as time. It's like, just
Yeah.
tell a story in the spirit of the books, and I guarantee you, you're gonna do just fine. You'll make your money back. It's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
So I don't know why that's hard for people to understand in the studio system, but
Right.
yeah.
I think that is really why the Lord of the Rings worked so well, is because they just gave the fans, for the most part, gave the fans what they wanted,
Yeah.
and they gave them the story they loved, but on the big screen, and I think that's with a Marvel's had some hits and misses, but I think that's what Marvel is doing well too.
Yeah.
They're giving the fans what they want as far as seeing their favorite characters on the screen. And speaking of favorite characters, uh, and The Expanse,
Yeah.
uh, I don't know who some of your favorite characters are from The Expanse so far, but I think my absolute favorite
Yeah.
is Avasarala.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
She is just she is just a wildfire. I absolutely love her character,
Yeah.
or I should say a Spitfire. That's what it is. She's a Spitfire, and the things that you never expect to come out of an old lady's mouth. She just says the wildest and crazy stuff, and I think as far as adaptations go, the casting was perfect for her. So of
Yeah.
course in Wheel of Time we just saw Elida Sadai,
Yep. Yep.
and she plays Avasarala in the show.
That's right. Yeah.
And I love her as an actress in general. I think the first time I ever saw her was in 24.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the first time I'd ever seen her, and I've loved her ever since. She's just a great actor.
Yeah.
But she yeah, she does so well with every role that she tackles, and she just is she captures the true spirit of Avasarala in the show. It's magnificent.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree, actually, because the only one scene I've seen is a scene from like season one that Linda showed me to try to get me to watch the show. She's
Yeah,
like, this is my favorite actress in the show, and like blah blah blah. And so she showed me like a clip of her in that,
yeah,
and I was like, that made me instantly want to watch the show. Yeah,
yes,
so good at like you said, embodying a character while still being a presence that you instantly recognize her.
yes,
I would imagine, like, I don't know much about acting in terms of the craft or the technical aspects of it, but I would imagine that that would be a tough balance to strike. You know?
yeah. I like how you said that. She definitely does bring a very strong presence to all of her roles.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
does. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you kind of feel like, just like you wouldn't want to mess with her character in the shows,
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to mess with her in real life, I have a feeling either.
I saw her interview on Dragon Mount, the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
She did like a short interview on there. Um, and yeah, it was just great to hear from her out of character and just talking and stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, yeah, I hope you get a chance to watch the adaptation once you caught up with the books and
yeah, yeah. I'm definitely
oh,
plan this year is to kind of catch up to both.
mhm.
I love those books. They're phenomenal. Very different tone to say the Sun Eater though. Sun Eater
Oh, I'm sure.
and space opera and with like Roman influences, other stuff like, and this there's just a grandiosity to it. Whereas the Expanse is of course grand, but there's more of a heist feeling. There's like a crew. There's like a ragtag kind of. There's some lighter moments like that, and I feel like
Mhm.
there's a lot more of a serious, thought-provoking kind of, at times brooding but beautiful. And I don't know how to explain it. It's great.
Mhm.
Yeah. Can you
Yeah.
tell I like Eater? I don't know if I've made it clear enough.
What's that?
I said, can you tell I like the Sun Eater? I don't know if I've made it clear enough.
Oh,
Just
yeah, that wasn't obvious at all. No, I'm very excited to read it, and who knows? Maybe one of these days it'll get an adaptation too. That would be interesting. But I hope that if he's willing to let it be adapted, I hope he holds out for exactly what he wants.
yeah, yeah. Me too.
Um,
Me too.
because uh, I think one of the things that was magic for The Expanse
Mm.
was Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank are in the writing room. They're
Mm.
they're 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 uh, they're writers for the show as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that's a lot of where the magic happened with that.
Interesting. Yeah.
And um, and I know I watched an interview with Jim Butcher not too long ago, and they asked him about possible adaptations and
Mm.
what his requirements are, and one of his requirements is that he is in the writing room.
Great.
So and that's I wouldn't want Dresden Dresden any other way because I haven't watched the original Dresden show, but I've heard enough to know that it's not anything remotely close to Dresden. So,
Right. Right.
um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's really important for the writer to be able to have charge over whatever adaptations are presented.
I completely agree. I know Brandon Sanderson has expressed his distaste about not being listened to for the Wheel of Time, especially the
Yeah.
first couple seasons. Uh,
Mhm.
but and I think in particular the first season. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him talking about that, and I felt bad about that too because he was so involved
Yeah.
with writing the last three books.
Yeah.
He was so deeply involved with the series as a whole, and I think that was a big misstep
Yeah. I
on
agree.
their part because I've only read the first couple of books,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
but I personally think they did Tom Merlin a huge disservice.
100%. Yeah. 100.
They completely misrepresented him.
I agree. Yeah.
And I don't know if we'll see him again because I haven't read the rest of the series, of course. So,
Mm.
but I was he was one of the characters that I really liked in the first book or two, and yeah, they did not do that well.
Yeah. I know.
But
Yeah, it's unfortunate when you see stuff like that happen. Like I am heartened, silver lining kind of thing is you're starting to see more writers have an active role. Like for example, I don't know what Where Best Served Cold as an adaptation now is of Abercrombie's book, but I know at the time, what's her name? Jessica Ferguson? Is it her?
mhm. I think so. Yeah, I think that's her. Yeah,
From Dune and Silo, she's going to be Monza in that adaptation.
I heard that.
Yeah. So that is first of all awesome, and then second of all, Joe Abercrombie's going to have an active writing role on it. And I don't know if you've read any Blake Crouch. Have you read any Blake
I
Crouch?
have.
Yeah.
I
Which
love Blake Crouch. I have not read the Pines trilogy yet, although I did see I did see Wayward Pines. I did watch the show when it was on TV a few years ago,
Okay, okay.
but I read Dark Matter, Recursion, and Upgrade,
So
and he's a must-read author for me now. Like,
yeah, me
yeah.
too. Me too. Yeah. Yeah. Wayward Pines is an incredible trilogy. It's actually among my favorite things of his, and the
Mhm.
thing I think about the most after the fact. Um, but yeah, like Dark Matter was adapted as an Apple TV series, and I believe
Yeah.
only the writer, but he was a showrunner or something like that.
Yeah, he was. I watched an interview with Blake Crouch on Mike's channel actually,
Oh,
and he talked about his involvement with the show, and I watched the adaptation as well, and I thought they did a good job.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job.
Case in point, you give the writer a bit more control. You don't try to write your own stories into it. Um, I've spoken to other studio executives just about other stuff where they go like, yeah, like we like to put our own spin on it. I'm like,
Yeah,
no, big mistake, rookie mistake.
yeah, definitely.
It's like there's ways to put your own spin on existing material, meaning like, you know, there's specific aspects of a story you could go like, hey, let's condense this part down because it will actually work better as a pacing on a show. Stuff like that. Yeah, it makes sense. There's changes that are warranted, but like just randomly interjecting relationships into it or randomly interjecting things that have spiderweb like effects, like it kind of butterfly effect. It influences other things in the series, so you paint yourself in a corner, like what Perrin went through, in the first season.
Yeah,
It's like his character is now irrevocably changed because the things he goes through in the novels is going to be very different now.
yeah, right. Yeah, I was very surprised that they added a spouse for him at the beginning of the show.
Yeah,
I'm like, and then, well, I guess I won't spoil it, but anyway, yeah, something happens there that it completely alters his character.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, in fundamental ways.
And then not only will it alter his character, it will alter his relationship with the other characters. Then, because of the three main kind of characters in it, right? Rand,
Hmm.
Aaron. Now it alters their particular storyline as a three in a way.
Hmm.
Like it's like it has far-reaching implications, and I wish they would kind of go like, "Hey, this is going to influence season 5. Let's maybe not do that." I don't know.
Yeah,
That's my personal take on things, but
yeah, I think you're right on.
yeah.
I think the biggest thing that bothered me was the prophecy of the dragon
Oh yeah, yeah,
was hugely mishandled.
yeah,
I wish they just would have stuck to the book. I mean, in my mind, the whole reason that the dragon is dangerous is because he's a male who can channel.
yeah.
I don't think it I don't think that's wrong to have it specifically be a male, but they wanted to broaden it out, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I know.
yeah,
I agree because it's like they kind of went away from it only to go back to it again. So it really
yeah,
did feel like it didn't need to be that way in the first place.
yeah.
And I feel like the Wheel of Time, it's interesting because it's so different to other fantasy series. Like there is with the Aes Sedai, it's like a matriarchal kind of power uh
Yeah.
center. And with the political machinations that come with that, and it becomes more apparent as the books go on.
Mhm.
And so you didn't really need to um interject more. Like it was there, it's right there actually, is
Yeah.
the representation that I also feel like is interesting too, is like when you look at the two rivers,
Hmm.
there was so many different cultures in two rivers,
Hmm.
and which feels, it doesn't feel like you're opening up into a wider world, because in that first book it was a very homogenous kind of society, and it was a small kind of society. So the whole idea is like they're ripped away from that, kind of like it was supposed to echo the Shire, where
Mhm.
Frodo's like venturing out into a new world, like an unknown territory from what he grew up with knowing. And you just don't feel that expansion
Mhm.
because it feels like a mini version and then a larger version of what there is already.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah. But I'm glad, like I feel like season 3 is definitely the best yet. So
Yeah, so far I would say so, and I really enjoyed season 2 as well.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
there was kind of a change that I'll have to ask you about offline
yeah, yeah.
at the end of season 2, but I feel like for the most part it's really become a really great fantasy show,
Yeah, totally.
and so yeah, lots of good stuff out there and lots of good opportunities for more in the future. I do just to piggyback to the Pines. I do plan to start the Pines trilogy this year,
Oh,
so that's going to be my next one.
I'm so
But,
excited.
but eventually, I want to read everything that he's written because he's just that good. Um,
He's an amazing author. He's like one of the most consistent authors I've ever read. you know.
yeah, I would agree. Well, I know. So we've got about 9 minutes left. I know you have to leave at 10:30.
Sure.
So was there anything that you were just like burning to talk about or discuss, or are there any comments from people watching the stream today that you'd like to ask Nikil about his background, things like that? We've still got a few minutes. I just wanted to make sure that I'm cognizant of your time as well.
Oh
So
no, thanks so much, man. Yeah, sorry today's been usually Saturday mornings are actually pretty chill, but it
yeah,
just feels like lately I've been just running from one thing to the next. And
yeah,
that's life. But no, this is just so much fun, man. I'm really glad that we get a chance to chat like this because it's I think that's one of my favorite parts of BookTube actually is to watch live streams of
oh
people
yeah,
see them in their element. It's fun to see, of course, the book reviews. I love book reviews. I'm probably one of the minority in that respect, right? Because I know book reviews typically don't perform as well for content creators on this platform. But I
yeah.
love book reviews actually, and I love seeing the TBRs and the book hauls and all. But long form discussions to me are some of the most fun because you get to just kind of see where the conversation goes, and that's always a blast. I would
Yeah.
actually love to chat with you if you don't mind, Chaz, about a little bit of Stephen King as well, because
Oh, absolutely. Let's do it.
how many Stephen King books have you read? Were there any that stick out to you, or what was the first one that you read that you enjoyed?
The first one I read was The Gunslinger.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was the first one I read. And then I took a long break of about like 2 or 3 years before I read The Drawing of the Three.
Mm-hmm.
So really, my only experience of reading Stephen King at first was the Dark Tower series, um, and then uh, actually in between the Dark Tower series, I did read it,
Oh, cool.
and that was not a great experience for me.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
I feel like Stephen King's longer books are too long for
Mm-hmm.
me. But I did it with I was 200 pages in and I almost DNF'd it.
Yeah, yeah,
But then somebody told me to try the audiobook and the audiobook got me through it.
yeah.
So,
I wish I could do audiobooks, man. I
mm,
really, really wish because there's so many stories I want to digest, and I just am not able to pay attention on audio the same way. I just don't retain it. Like even if I'm able to pay attention, it just doesn't stick in my mind. I don't know what it is. um my whole business is centered around audio, so you would think that I would be good at it, but I don't know. But somehow I'm just kind of have to read the physical thing. But
yeah, it's and I get that. Not everybody can do audiobooks, and I don't normally do fiction on audio. I normally do it on I normally do it with a physical or ebook, but I do a lot of nonfiction on audio.
cool.
Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I get it. So some people can't do it.
yeah.
So I um I did the stand that way as well. I did that on audio
Oh, did you?
because it's such a huge chunker. I didn't enjoy that one either, to be honest. But the ones that stick out in my mind are definitely Salem's Lot. That's my favorite Stephen King book.
Okay.
And my second favorite is close to it, and that's The Shining. I,
Oh, great choice. Yeah.
I recently read The Shining in October last year. Absolutely loved it. It was so good. And then I watched the movie and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah,
No.
it's isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, if you haven't read Pet Cemetery or Cujo, they're shorter books. Pet Cemeteries are like around 300-400 pages, and Cujo's like 280 pages. So you get to
Yeah.
see Stephen King at his most, tight stories and great characters in those.
I'm going to be reading Pet Cemetery with Fina from Fina Reads. I don't know if you watched her channel,
I have it. I'll
but
have to.
yeah, I'm going to be reading that with her in September, I think. I'm,
Awesome.
I'm I'm cautious because I'm a really emotionally centered person,
Yeah.
and I've heard that that book will just rip you apart
It
emotionally.
it is a gut punch for sure. But oh man, it's so good. It's one of those where you don't want to keep reading, but you can't stop. It's great.
And I've heard Cujo is good too, so I may eventually get to that one.
Totally.
Um, Josh says here, I can concur that very long book reviews aren't popular.
Right. Yeah.
That's true. Now, book reviews in general don't do very well on YouTube.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
my question for Nikil, I'd just like to hear about some of your very favorite books.
Oh, yeah, thanks for asking. I think so, on the topic of Stephen King, he's like my favorite, most consistent author of all time, I guess you could say. So I've read like 50 something of his books and I loved a lot of them. I would say 11/22/63 as a standalone is probably one of those books that really helped shape me in adulthood. I read it in 2015, I think, and it just completely just it was just one of those books that I keep thinking about. Yeah, I still think about 10 years later. I grew up reading kind of a smattering of stuff. I grew up reading R.L. Stein's Goosebumps, and I would
Oh
go
yeah,
to book sales and get the newest entry. I was like really into it, and then in college I fell off of reading, and then I got reintroduced to reading again in adulthood through Stephen King, and I read Pet Cemetery, and I read uh, I read the Dark Tower series. I read some of these other books, 11/22/63, and I just fell in love with that. And then Wheel of Time kind of was my gateway to fantasy. And so then I discovered John Gwynn's Faithful and the Fallen series. And that was one where I was like, I would finish I bought all four. So I'd finish a book. I would literally have the second book next to me so I could immediately pick it up and keep turning the pages because I was so invested in that series. The recent favorite book I would say is Shogun. I read that book by James Clavell, 1,300 pages on hardcover, but man, it was just a smooth ride throughout. And that actually opened up the gateway to historical fiction for me, and
okay, yeah,
all the historical fiction I can find because I was like, oh, I got to read Ken Follett. I'm reading the Century trilogy right now about
yeah,
families across 100 years of world history, and that one is just like incredible. So
that's
there's
awesome.
there's so many to choose from, but I think the books and that open up your worldview or make you think, oh, there's a whole genre of that. I got to check that out. So
Yeah,
those are the ones that really stick out in my mind, I guess.
Shogun is a masterpiece.
It is. Yeah.
I read Shogun in January, and I was really worried because historical fiction isn't normally my thing,
Yeah.
but it just blew me away.
Yeah.
Just absolutely blew me away. So, and I doubt I'll find a book that will top it for my book of the year, but we'll see. Uh,
Totally. Yeah.
yeah, it's really good. But
Absolutely.
well, we've got about a minute left before I know you have to get going. So I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to end this here. Nikhil, thank you so much. I'd love to have you back.
Oh, that'd be lovely.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I also do the occasional Chaz and Friends remix, so I'd love to have you back. And
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Chaz, man. Like I really appreciate you having me on, and you're just a wonderful beacon of light on BookTube. So
Well, thank
You're
you.
a rock, man. It's always such a blast chatting with you, and it's always just a fun hang. So anytime you're down, I am in.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited for the next time then.
Yeah,
But everybody have a great day. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you read more books. Make sure you check out Nikil's channels, and we'll talk with you soon. Hang out with me for just a second here.
sure.
All
Bye.
right. Bye, everybody.